Welcome to the Prophecy Club. Our topic today is food shortage. Now, the information I'll be bringing you is all in the last year. Matter of fact, I think I've got like 14 different dreams or visions or audible words or angel visits, all saying, 14 different people, all saying that there's about to be a food shortage. Now, in my 40 years of being in Bible prophecy, I have never, ever seen it like this. I've never seen God speaking as much as He is right now. And remember, Joel 2 says, in the last days, God is going to pour out His Spirit on all flesh. Your old men going to dream dreams, young men going to see visions. Well, He is warning us if we have ears to hear. And I believe we do. All right, so comes to us from the most important news, good friend of mine, good guy. Says the global fertilizer shortage means that far less food will be grown all over the planet in 2022. Now, you may be saying, so I don't eat fertilizer. Okay, well, the Bible says in the last days that the earth is going to languish. In other words, it grows old like a worn-out garment. And that's where our earth is right now. We plant things in our earth, and it doesn't produce very much. I mean, we don't get peaches the size of basketballs. We don't get peaches the size of maybe even a baseball, yes, but not like a softball. We should be able to get a lot more coming from the ground. Well, what they have to do today to get it coming from the ground is they have to fertilize it. They have to put in all these kind of fertilizers, and many times they have to put down things to kill all the bugs, or we get nothing. So when it says fertilizer shortage, what it's really saying is food shortage. It goes on to say right now, to a very large degree, we are still eating food that was produced in 2021. That's true. By the end of the year, to a very large degree, we'll be eating food that was produced in 2022, if it was produced. Unfortunately for all of us, that appears to be a lack of fertilizer will mean that far less food will be grown in 2022. Now, that's around the globe, but that includes America. We're really facing a fertilizer crisis, even before the war in Ukraine, which has made it worse, of course. But now the war has definitely taken things to a new level. It says a great deal of the world's fertilizer comes from either Russia, Belarus, or Ukraine. I didn't know that. Probably you didn't know that either. So when this Ukraine war started up, a lot of the fertilizer that normally reaches our American farmers ain't reaching them. A fertilizer shortage has added up to growing concerns about the Ukraine's war impact on the price and scarcity of certain basic foods. Russia and Belarus have provided about 40% of the world's exports of potash, that's a fertilizer. Belarus producer, it wouldn't be able to hold its contracts, says it won't be able to, because Russia also exported 11% of the world's urea, that's another fertilizer, and 48% of the ammonium nitrate. Russia and Ukraine together export 28% of the fertilizers made from nitrogen and phosphorus, as well as potassium. Now, America grows a lot of the food, true, but we grow it because we got the fertilizers from Russia, Belarus, and Ukraine, which right now ain't coming. So if there's less fertilizer coming into America, guess what? There's less food being grown. Some fertilizers have more than doubled in price. What does that mean? That means you can expect it. It is coming. It's not a question. It is coming. The prices on food are probably going to double and then some. Some fertilizers have more than doubled in price, such as potash, $210 per metric tons, valued at $565 for urea and $268. Says in particular here in the United States, it's simply not going to be profitable for many farmers to grow corn this year. Many farmers are not going to grow corn. See, it's like this. If you're a farmer, you've been doing this for a long time. A lot of them have been doing this for generations, several generations. They know when it's a good time to plant. They also have to know when it's a good time not to plant. If you can't get the fertilizer, it's not a good idea to plant, and they know that. Far less fertilizer will be used in 2022, and that means far less food will be grown. There will be famines. Now, here's the problem. You see this on TV, you watch this on the video here, wherever you're watching this right now, and you think, hocus pocus, smoke and mirrors. Well, hopefully you're realizing Bible says in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, let a thing be established. I'm going to show you this, not in 1 or 2. I got 14 different people that have dreams and visions. And I'm going to show you one lady that heard an audible voice, God telling her, go buy food. Not exactly in those words, but I'll show you. If you're upset, the gas has gone up $1 or $2, wait until your grocery bill is up to $1,000 a month. That's what they're saying. It's not just one person saying it. A lot of people are saying this. So here's the question. Can you afford $1,000 a month for groceries every month? Well, I can't afford that. Well, then I suggest you start doing some changes and making some plans right now. And I'm going to tell you about those plans here in just a second. You better stock up now while prices are still relatively reasonable. I know you're saying, well, the prices are high now. Yeah, well, these, like the old saying says, these are the good old days. We might look back and say 2022 was the last of the good old days. Matter of fact, in my opinion, that's accurate. We probably will go back and look back on 2022 and say, yep, that was the last of the good old days. And they're not returning. Of course, there are certain things that you'll not be able to stock up on because they simply aren't there. Shortages are intensifying all over the country. And in particular, we have seen an alarming shortage of pasta begin to happen in certain stores. Okay, so Terry Saka, why should people call CornerstoneAssetMetals.com today?
Well, we've had large developments. We all do know about the war with Ukraine and Russia, but what's happening in Europe, beyond the fact that they have food rationing, energy rationing, and the Rhine River, which is the heartland of the industrial world of Europe, is now drying up to the point where the barges can no longer go through. And now the announcement just yesterday that Russia was going to eliminate all Nord Stream energy flows to Europe is huge. So what that's doing is it's making the euro currency crash way below parity, making the dollar really strong, which is giving you a tremendous buying opportunity because gold and silver is very cheap. But don't be fooled. It won't last long.
CornerstoneAssetMetals.com. Call them, start some dialogue, open an account, and get yourself prepared for what is coming. Here's the lady. So it's January 20th, 2022. I told you all of these coming the last year. She says, it's Bonnie Jones. She says, I was in a sound sleep, and the Lord woke me up and began speaking to me and said, there's going to be a downfall of the economy. Purchase non-perishable foods now. For the most of us, we don't know war. We don't know difficult times. But God loves us, and He is speaking to us if we can just hear. And the problem is the hearing. A lot of times we hear what we want to hear, and we don't hear what we don't want to hear. And now the truth is, I don't want to hear this either. But at the same time, I'm going to listen, and I'm going to make some preparations. 6,000 urged to evacuate as North Carolina fertilizer plant fire threatens an ammonium nitrate explosion. And we talked about this yesterday. There's been over 110 various food processing plants, all destroyed, all in the last year. Now, how do you explain that? I don't think that's an accident. One or two? Yeah, I got it. 600 tons of ammonium nitrate, 5,000 tons of finished fertilizer on the site were destroyed. So when they're destroying fertilizer, they're destroying food. Food, fertilizer, fertilizer, food. My wife, Leslie Johnson, prophet, January 3rd, 2021, says, I saw a lot of people in this vision who represented the church. And they were in an amusement park. That's where we are right now. They were in an amusement park. Everything was fun, but they started getting very, very hungry. All the restaurants and the food availability was gone. That's two. The Bible says in the mouth of two or three witnesses, let a thing be established. So if we have two people saying that there's about to be a food crisis, a food shortage, all the food availability in restaurants are gone. If we have two people saying that, it's time to listen. I don't have two. I've got 14. All the restaurants and the food availability was gone. They were not able to get the food at this amusement park, meaning America. So they were leaving in droves. But when they left without their shoes. They were all barefoot and very hungry. What's that saying? We've never been without shoes in America. Most of us. We've never gone without shoes. But this is saying that time is coming. They were all looking for food, begging for even one piece of bread. Why did the dream say bread? Jesus said that man should not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. Now, all of my life, I always thought that that was saying, well, you need to know the Word of God, which of course it does, and that's accurate, and that's a good thing. But what I didn't see until recently is it was also saying that a person should not only eat bread. So what does that mean? Well, I realized that what it was saying is that in Jesus' day, apparently, most people lived off of bread. In other words, there were a lot of people, that's all they ate was bread. And he's saying, look it, you can't live on just bread alone. You got to have some other things. However, if you read between the lines, it was also saying that probably bread is one of the best things to eat. Now, I'm not talking about the bread in the store, not talking about white bread. I'm talking about whole wheat bread. I'm talking about where you get the wheat berries. They don't call them seeds. They are. But they call them wheat berries. Take the wheat berries, put them into a grinder, turn it to flour in 30 seconds, put it into a bread machine. 2 hours, 20 minutes later, you have a nice hot loaf of whole wheat bread, which, by the way, is what I've been eating now for about a year, most of the time for my breakfast and my lunch, which, by the way, my cholesterol has gone down and my blood pressure has gone down. I cannot guarantee it was because of bread, but I cannot say it's for any other reason, so take it for what it's worth. Rising fertilizer costs are catching up to rice farmers, threatening supplies. Soaring fertilizer costs have rice farmers across Asia scaling back their use. That feeds half of humanity and could lead to a full-blown food crisis. Prices on crop nutrients crucial to boosting food production have doubled or tripled in the past year alone. Lower fertilizer use may mean a smaller crop. A loss of 36 million tons of rice, or the equivalent of feeding 500 million people. Now, David Phillips is a good friend of mine who works part-time with the Prophecy Club, but he has personally received several dreams for me personally that have been accurate and right on. So I listened to David Phillips. He says, and this is 7/24/2021. He says, I dreamed we're eating at a restaurant with friends. Everyone was having a good time. Notice that? See the amusement park and the other one, now having a good time. That's where we are right now in America. Everybody's having a good time. We don't have to worry about the end times. Everyone's having a good time. The waitress said they accidentally gave us the wrong menu, saying food should be more expensive. But since it was their mistake that they would honor the lower prices, so they were getting better prices. She also said that they were low on some of the food items, such as chocolate. We were annoyed, picking other items instead. The staff was working hard to please and keep the business running. We began to watch the movie showing outside. Halfway through, it was abruptly turned off. Everything went dark. Here it comes, here it comes. The restaurant announced that they were closing right now, immediately. And everyone had to pick up and walk out, saying that they would be closed for 6 months. Everyone panicked. They were all in shock. We all stood to our feet, gathered our loved ones, and left. Now, to me, the biggest thing I think that's saying is that when this hits, it doesn't hit gradually. See, if the fall of the dollar were to come down like slow and gradual, you could get ready for it. But when it drops like that, how can you get ready? Well, the point is you got to get ready when they're still in an amusement park. You got to get ready when they're still having a good time. In other words, you have to prepare for the hard times and the good times. Like Maurice Sklar was shown, another prophet, he was shown that the dollar will drop 30%. Okay, get this. Dollar drops 30%. Then down to 50%, then down to 66%, then goes to zero. Shane Warren was shown that the dollar would be blowing in the wind, worthless as leaves. Daniel Davis was shown in a dream. He said, I saw a man walk to the microphone. It was in Dallas, Texas. And he said, and he was all dressed up in a business suit. He said, ladies and gentlemen, I have an announcement to make. He said, the United States, as you have known it, has ceased to exist. All property lines are dissolved, and the U.S. dollar is worthless. Now, I don't think that's coming in 2022. I don't think that's coming in 2023. But I could be wrong. But I do think it's coming. I do think it's coming fairly soon. And I know some things. I know some things I can't share. But what I am going to share, I will share. If I can't share it, I'll share it. And that is, you better be listening. Not a joke. Better be getting ready. Now, let me also just adjust your attitude. I had to adjust my attitude. I used to think, oh, well, I want to try to live a long time. Well, actually, that's not my attitude now. I want to serve the Lord as long as He allows my heart to beat. And at what time it stops, then I want to be ready to go home to Him. So my objective is no longer to try to live a long time. My objective is to try to serve Him. That means that I'm preparing. I'm not just preparing for me. I'm preparing for the other people that aren't listening right now, the people down the street, people that don't want to hear any of this, and so they aren't prepared. So I want to not only have an apple for me, but I want to have an apple for them too. Let's go on. Soaring fertilizer prices ahead of planting season could lead to higher food prices and shortages. Fertilizer prices continue to set new records amid Russia's invasion of Ukraine and contributing to rising food inflation. On Friday, prices of ammonia and nitrogen-based fertilizer climbed by 43% to reach $16.25 per metric ton. This marked a new record for the index, which is nearly 30 years old. Some producers in Europe have been forced to cut their output as a result of the rising cost of natural gas, which is what a lot of fertilizers are made from, which is used to make nitrogen fertilizers. Okay, so they've almost totally cut off the natural gas to Europe, and guess what that means? That means that they aren't making a lot of the fertilizers. That means that they're not exporting a lot of the fertilizers that American farmers usually buy. Another one from David Phillips, March 2021. I had a dream that my family went on a vacation. Rampant inflation had started. It was like we were living in the Old West. One person was selling rich crackers individually, $1,000 per cracker. The main thing that people wanted was food. People had no money. They were bartering for food. People would steal anything they could get their hands on, even out in the open, and were willing to risk extreme danger for it. The single most important thing? Food. Food supplies, especially a non-refrigerated foods. What did the other lady just say she heard? Non-perishable foods. This is a longer dream. I'm only going to read one part of it. It's given to Vicky Parnell, and she said, Where are we, Gabriel? And where are they all standing in line for? As I'm observing, I see men and women in business attire, people in blue jeans and raggedy shirts. Most look unkempt and dirty, and I see even little children in these lines. And Jesus, in this dream, is speaking to her. We are but a short time in the future. You're in the city called Reno, in the state of Nevada. There is very little food left in your country, and in many places of your world at this time. And I believe she's hearing from God. I believe that it's Jesus speaking to her and guiding her, and is warning her to warn other people that here very soon there's going to be a lot of places in the world, but specifically it's talking about Reno, and if it's Reno, it's probably in a neighborhood near you where they're not going to have food. Tens of thousands of chickens killed and 3 million eggs per day, egg farm fire. This is back in May. By the way, that means a lot of the things that should be on the shelves today are not going to be there. It says it's obviously under planned attack of its food supply and food distribution network. The people doing this must be found and stopped by any means necessary. Massive flames burned down a barn with tens of thousands of chickens in it. It's called Taylor Farms. Some 1,000 people are employed there, and they also process beef and pork. Fresh onion packing facilities destroyed. Well, somebody it's been making food for is not going to be getting that food. Nestle is part of it. Has a 90,000, that's a lot, 90,000 square foot facility that makes Hot Pockets, frozen sandwiches, Stouffer's, Lean Cuisine, DiGiorno, Tombstone, Sweet Earth brands, all kinds of meats, and a 75,000 square foot processing plant, and also makes fertilizer in western Kansas. All of these places have all been destroyed, all here just recently, and it's not an accident. It's an on purpose. People in high places are trying to take down this country. That's what's really going on. Another one, this is Claypool, Indiana. Soybeans destroyed. Fertilizer plant destroyed. Fertilizer storage. All of these are different places. Feed mill, 50,000 pounds of food destroyed. Premier independent distributor of organic and healthy food. The cause of the fire is unknown and under investigation. Now, let me explain what I really think is going on. I'm about to show you a quick footage of something that may be how they're destroying these. We know that scalar wave can do it. It can destroy anything in the air, on the ground, on the sea, under the sea, any place on the globe, anytime it wants to. We talked about that. As I show you this clip, I want you to look. It appears that there is a beam of some kind of energy, some people say it's a directed energy weapon, coming down and hitting this area of America. Now, when I first started looking at this, and I thought, oh, well, maybe it's just a reflection on the lens. But then as I kept watching, I saw this marching on down the street. It's not an accident, and it is not lightning, and yet it is taking out things. Watch closely. This is directed energy weapons, in my opinion. This is people in high places with very high technology that is attacking America. We are under attack. Watch. Okay, here is a list of some of the different companies that have been destroyed, again, all in the last 12 months. Monmouth, Smithfield Foods Pork Processing Plant, Memphis Kellogg Plant. Look at the dates. 4/30/21, 7/25/21, JBS Beef Plant, Patak Meat Company, Tyson River Valley Ingredient Plant, Darigold Plant, Garand County Food Plant, Made Right Steak Company, San Antonio Food Processing, Westside Foods, Hamilton Mountain Poultry Processing Plant. Would you think that that's enough to start causing shortages in our food supply? I do. Just right there, that's enough. But there's more. Here's more. Cargill, Winston-Salem, Wisconsin, Percy Dairy Farm, Wisconsin River Meats, Bonanza Meat, Shears Foods, Indiana Lewis, Best View, Lincoln Premier. Just that is enough to start causing prices to rise and shortages to start happening across America. But, once again, there's more. Shears Foods, Fire Destroys Deli Star Meat, Nutrient AG Solutions, Shadowbrook, 294,800 chickens, 644,000 chickens, 243,900 chickens, 663,400 chickens, 915,000, if I can read it right, 915,900 chickens, Wayne Hoover Dairy Farm. But that's not all. Now look at the dates. Let me back up. Okay, so those were 2021. These are 2022. These are 2022. And it doesn't stop there. Chickens, Walmart, Nestle, chickens, Walmart, turkeys, chickens. But look at the dates. These are all 2022. And they're hitting it like 2 or 3 a week, okay? And by the way, guess how many arrests were made? I haven't researched it, but my guess is none. It was all unknown. The fire was unknown. The explosion was unknown. Why these turkeys died? Well, it was some kind of flu or plague or something, okay? Chickens, turkeys, chickens. Food pantry, fresh onion, turkeys, chickens. But look at the dates again. Okay, so look at that. Let's take a second. All right, so there's what. Let me back up here. This is just 3. Okay, just in the month 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. 25 food processing plants destroyed just in March of 2022. You think that's an accident? My guess is that there weren't 2 destroyed in, say, 2020. So how do we come up with 110 that's been destroyed in the last 12 months? Not an accident. Evil in high places that have high technology are specifically trying to starve us out. I'm going to show you something you've never seen or tasted before. I'm doing this impromptu. I just went out to my own bread machine and I pulled this out. This is a loaf I made Saturday. This is my famous raisin, cinnamon, vanilla. This new loaf, the whole loaf would weigh about 3 pounds. Of course, I've already eaten about half of it. But I want to show you why you have never tasted this. Each one of these slices, you can see how thick it is. One of these slices is a meal. You eat one of these in the morning, one in the afternoon, and not only are you satisfied, you're really satisfied. You're really happy. Cinnamon, raisin, vanilla, and yes, at josephkitchen.com, you can get the recipe. This is an upgraded recipe that I plan to be putting out here as soon as I get a chance. But if you look close, those are raisins, cinnamon, and vanilla all whipped together. You put that into a toaster, put a little bit of butter on that, and, well, it doesn't last long at church. As a matter of fact, they pass by all of the nice donuts and all of the other sweet garbage to get something that's really good for them. Now, what I would suggest you do is start making your own bread, whether you've already got Joseph's Kitchen or whether you haven't, get it. Now, here's what you do. You go to josephskitchen.com. 2 things. 1, you order a machine package. That's the mechanicals to make it. In other words, the grinder that takes the wheat berries, turns it into flour, which you put into the bread machine with 6 other ingredients. Push a button. 2 hours and 20 minutes later, you have a nice hot loaf of whole wheat bread. Won't look like this because this one has raisin, cinnamon, and honey in it. Anyway, extra honey. And the next thing you want to do is decide how much food you want to have. You want to have 6 people 1 year, 4 people 1 year, 2 people 1 year, or just enough for 1 person. All of that is at the price of around $1,000 per person. Get you some homemade whole wheat bread. Why have you never tasted this? Because the grocery stores cannot and will never be able to offer this, because in about 7 to 10 days after you break the wheat berry, it starts going bad. Now, I know that I'm going to have to eat this in the next 7 to 10 days, but I also know it's probably not going to last more than 3 or 4 days. As a matter of fact, it's one of the best things I've ever eaten in my life, and I can't guarantee this. I can't say it legally, but let's put it this way. I've been taken off of my I've been taken off of my high blood pressure pills, and the doctor said that I have low cholesterol now, cut my cholesterol pill in half. And the only thing I can say is over the last year, I started eating whole wheat bread. So there it is, whole wheat bread. josephskitchen.com.